Have you ever sent a text message that got completely taken out of context? I know I have. And I think, over the past 109 years, a fiery message sent by Titanic's wireless operator has been completely misunderstood, and even added to the growing list of myths surrounding the Titanic disaster. Let me explain.
The frigid North Atlantic air on April 14, 1912, was electric. Not just with the biting cold, but with invisible pulses of information. Aboard the RMS Titanic, the most advanced ship in the world, a young man sat hunched over his state-of-the-art wireless set, his ears covered by headphones. He was the vital link between the opulent vessel and the rest of the world. Yet in the critical hours before disaster struck, crucial warnings of immense icebergs directly in their path were received but never reached the bridge. Why were these messages, which could have saved over 1,500 souls, seemingly dismissed? The answer is not one of simple negligence, but a complex and tragic convergence of duty, technology, and pressure that has been debated for over a century. The modern marvel and its young messengers. In 1912, the wireless telegraph was the pinnacle of modern technology, the Edwardian equivalent of today's top tech brands. The Marconi Company had installed its most powerful equipment aboard the Titanic, a symbol of an optimistic and ambitious era. Manning this station were two young men, senior wireless operator Jack Phillips, who had just turned 25, and his junior Harold Bride. They were independent men of a new era, escaping what they saw as blind alley careers to become part of a technological revolution. Their primary role, however, was not what many might assume. They were not crew members employed by the White Star Line, but rather employees of Marconi, placed aboard to serve the ship's first-class clientele. Their days were consumed by transmitting a stream of personal messages from wealthy passengers, who used the novelty of the wireless to show off about their glamorous voyage. Messages read like early, expensive text messages. One passenger sent a message to New York saying he was dining in spirit with his loved one, while another assured friends in Los Angeles of his wellness and involvement in poker. This commercial traffic was lucrative and demanding. Alongside this, Phillips and Bride provided the first wireless news service for ships, tapping out headlines about industrial unrest and high-profile crimes in France. This constant flow of private telegrams was their main focus, the task that defined their working day. Safety, while a function of the technology, was secondary to the commercial imperative of clearing the backlog of passenger messages. This distinction is crucial to understanding the events that would unfold. The mounting pressure and a fateful breakdown. The pressure on Phillips and Bride began to mount even before the most critical warnings arrived. The day before the collision, the wireless equipment had broken down. Contrary to Marconi Company guidelines, which strictly forbade operators from attempting repairs themselves for fear of causing further damage, Phillips and Bride had spent most of the previous night painstakingly fixing the machine. Their successful repair was a double-edged sword. It brought the system back online, allowing them to resume their work, but it also created a significant backlog of passengers' messages that had accumulated during the outage. On the evening of April 14th, Jack Phillips was single-mindedly focused on clearing this mountain of telegrams. He was transmitting to the powerful shore station at Cape Race, Newfoundland, a painstaking process that required immense concentration. Shortly after 9:30 p.m., a message clicked into his headphones from the steamship Mesaba. The message was unambiguous and alarming, reporting drifting ice, a large number of massive icebergs, and an entire ice field directly in the Titanic's path. Phillips acknowledged the warning, but his priority remained the stack of passenger messages destined for Cape Race. The operator on the Mesaba waited for confirmation that the vital ice report had been passed to the bridge, a confirmation that never came. Phillips simply went back to work. His focus was not on the ship's navigation, but on the task assigned to him by his employer, a task compounded by the pressure of the earlier breakdown. Keep out, shut up, I'm working Cape Race. As the night deepened, the situation in the wireless room grew more intense. At 10:55, Phillips was interrupted again, this time by a loud, insistent signal from the SS Californian. The ship was so close, it had stopped for the night, completely surrounded by ice. Its sole wireless operator, Cyril Evans, was attempting to warn ships in the vicinity. Because of the nature of the spark gap wireless technology of the day, signals bled across the spectrum and were impossible to tune out. The Californian's proximity meant its signal blared loudly in Phillips' ears, drowning out the faint signals he was struggling to receive from the distant Cape Race station. Frustrated by the loud interruption, Phillips sent back a curt and now infamous reply. He told Evans to keep out and shut up, explaining that he was working Cape Race. To a modern ear, the message sounds shockingly dismissive, an act of fatal arrogance. However, in the context of 1912 wireless operator jargon, the language was not as insulting as it appears. During the subsequent British Rec Commissioner's inquiry, Evans himself testified that such an exchange was common practice and that he did not perceive it as an insult. Furthermore, Evans was not sending an official ice warning in the recognized format. He was providing an informal update on his own ship's status. He did not specifically request that Phillips forward the information to the Titanic's bridge. Shortly after the exchange, having done what he felt he could, Evans switched off his set and went to bed for the night, silencing the one voice that could have provided a last urgent warning. Meanwhile, Phillips, unaware of the gravity of the Californian's situation, returned to his work, the pressing backlog still his primary concern. It's a chilling reminder that several other ice warnings had already been received by Captain Smith, so the presence of ice in the area was known information on the bridge.
But what about those rockets? Regardless of the radio, the Californians' lookouts did see what appeared to be rockets, and one would have to assume that rockets at night in the middle of the North Atlantic means danger, right? Well, not according to international regulations at the time.
From operator to unsung hero. At 11:40 p.m., the unsinkable ship struck an iceberg. The sound was described as being like the tearing of calico. Captain Edward Smith quickly appeared in the wireless room, instructing Phillips to prepare to send a distress signal. A few minutes past midnight, the captain returned, gave them the ship's estimated position, and ordered them to call for assistance. At that moment, Jack Phillips' role transformed from a commercial telegraphist into the last hope for thousands of people. He began sending the Marconi distress signal, CQD, while Harold Bride ferried messages to and from the captain. In a moment of gallows humor, Bride suggested to Phillips that he should also send the new distress call, SOS, remarking that it might be his last chance to use it. Phillips integrated the new signal into his calls, and his tireless efforts soon raised the RMS Carpathia, which immediately altered its course and steamed towards them. The power on the Titanic was failing, making his work increasingly difficult. The signal faded, yet he persisted. Captain Smith eventually returned to the flooding wireless room shortly after 2 a.m., formally relieved the two men, telling them they had done their duty. Bride later recalled being deeply moved by Phillips's unwavering dedication as he continued to work at his post even after being dismissed. As the chaos escalated and water began to flood their cabin, a crew member attempted to steal Phillips' lifebelt. An outraged Bride attacked the man, and the two operators fled onto the deck, leaving the would-be thief behind. They separated in the pandemonium. It was the last time Harold Bride ever saw Jack Phillips alive. A hero's contested end. The final moments of Phillips' life are shrouded in conflicting accounts. His heroism in the wireless room became an enduring part of the Titanic legend, largely thanks to Harold Bride, who survived aboard the overturned collapsible B. In his initial sensational interview with the New York Times, Bride claimed that he saw Phillips' body on the Carpathia and confirmed he had died on the same lifeboat. But when testifying under oath at the Senate inquiry, Bride's story changed. He admitted he had only been told that Phillips had perished on the collapsible and had not seen it for himself. Colonel Archibald Gracie, another survivor, stated that a body was transferred from the upturned boat, but was adamant it was not Phillips. Jack Phillips's body was never found, leaving his final heroic moments a mystery, a sacrifice lost to the icy depths of the Atlantic.
When the wreck of the Titanic was found in 1985, it was discovered that she was actually 13 nautical miles from the position noted in the official inquest. Dr. Robert Ballard, who directed the search for the Titanic, said the Californian could not have been more than 10 miles from the stricken liner, adding that they could have easily gone to the Titanic's aid.
Now it's time to hear from you. What part of the story was most surprising to hear? Let us know in the comments section below.